Hello and welcome to Corgi Town, USA. I am Candy. Right next to me is Chuckles, our spokescorg.
And I'm Catherine.
And in the studio, we have the rest of the Corgi committee, which
Yes,
is Tito Bandito, Mortimer Barnabas, and our newest member, Gilda, the little lady.
she's so cute. I sent mine too home. We had them earlier in the studio. I sent Digby and Calabria home with their father.
They got put in detention.
No, well, their little foster brothers were coming home from the foster event, so I said everybody go home.
Time to reunite.
Time to reunite, right?
Yeah. Well, if you're new here, hi, welcome. We have a new episode for you every week, all things Corgi and pet parent lifestyle.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm a dog trainer, so we talk a lot about training, and it's not just corgdom. Although we are corgi centric, we are here for all the dog moms and dads. Um, Here to help you have a healthy, happy, long life with you and your pets.
That's right. And I'm a grief recovery coach, and so I talk about sometimes grief, the grief that your other pets may go through, the grief that you go through, and how we acknowledge that and how others around you may acknowledge that or not.
We're still grieving here because our dear sweet booger just left a month ago.
A month ago, yeah.
So, and then Gilda found us.
That's right. That's
So
right.
we needed to have a new little girl in the house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And today's episode is it's going to be a little sadder. So if you need to pause and pull out the tissues, definitely do so. But Kimberly is with us, and we're going to talk about ALS. And yeah, it's a human disease.
But we talked about a DM, degenerative myelopathy, a lot here on the show, not only because it's very prevalent in corgis, but we also serve on the board for Shade Out DM, the nonprofit that's all about awareness and supporting pet parents through the journey, as well as we lost our own hammer to it 2 years ago.
That's right.
So I've been a caretaker for a being dealing with ALS. So we thought there were some parallels and some education that we could kind of share with Kimber here. And Kimber, if you can just kind of explain to us, tell us who you are, how you got started, kind of what you're working on.
Okay, well, I am an award-winning filmmaker, producer. Thank you. Author, and I received a phone call a few years ago from a woman whose husband was diagnosed with ALS, and she couldn't find any information anywhere or documentaries done unless the documentaries were about very elite, wealthy people, and their family couldn't relate to the care and to what to expect. So she reached out to me and asked me if I would do a documentary on ALS, how the family members are affected. And it's so relatable because it's just everyday people, and how do you care for them? And I had no idea that this disease could affect the animal kingdom. And so I'm really honored to be here because I used to be the host of what was called the Animal Rescuers, where we did 50 episodes of in Arizona under the Pact 911 umbrella for rescues. So
Great.
I feel like I'm being brought back into that. I'm so excited, and I can't wait to talk about it.
Well, thank you. And
Yeah.
so I'm part of a networking group of, well, more than a networking group, but I'm part of a group called Alliances, and it's all entrepreneurs. And once a year here in Arizona, they do something called the Grand Table, and Kimber is the interview host at the Grand Table, and I was one of the volunteers because that's what I do.
Mm-hmm.
And when I heard what Kimber was working on, I approached her and I said, I don't know how this is going to work. And when I spoke to her, she said, I don't know how this is going to work either. ALS, and we always say it when we're doing an episode on DM, on degenerative myelopathy.
We have several, by the way.
And it is the canine version of ALS. And I thought, there's got to be some connection. and also how people, once the person passes, once our pets pass, um, there's also how people react to it and some of the things that are said.
Yeah.
And we talk about disenfranchised grief for pet parents,
And the anticipatory.
and the anticipatory grief is going to be human
Crushing
for
for me.
the
Crushing.
humans, right? And it is crushing for the humans, and for our pets, our fur babies, uh, and that more disenfranchised grief. And I think
And then the way that you were
right,
when you were caretaker,
right.
that part of you goes away as well. So there's a little bit of that,
What do I do now?
yeah.
So Kimber, talk to us a little bit about the film and some of the things that came up that surprised you
Like
doing this.
similarities and how like families face challenges and yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So, first of all, I'd like to begin at the very basics of it, and that is the dis-ease of the human spirit. And I've had several dogs, like 6 of them pass, and they all had dis-ease in their body. And what I had learned on a more advanced level than science, but more on the human level of the animal tends to absorb the human's illnesses, discontent, fear. And whenever anybody, whether it's the animal kingdom or the human being, whenever you're absorbing that type of dis-ease, it turns into disease in the body, especially in the animal, because the animal is the most unconditional partner in the relationship.
Yes.
So before I get into the ALS aspect of it, I would like to ask the human beings out there that are the pet owners to really try to not pass on your your grief, your fear, your uncomfortableness onto that animal, because that's why they're our companions. They're protecting us not only from strangers, but also from anything in the spiritual realm or on an unconscious level that we don't know we're creating. They're going to absorb that, and it's going to come out in either the dog's diabetic or the dog has limb issues. And now I had no idea that this degenerative muscle, I don't know how to, disease.
Degenerative myelopathy
Okay,
Yeah.
or
degenerative,
DM.
I'll
DM.
call it DM, that it is something that they're taking from the humans so that the human can live longer because their lives are so short. So if I was a dog, I would want to absorb that from my owner because I'm only going to be here 10 to 15 years on this dimension, right? So I just want to, like, a call to action for the pet owner to realize that, when you're sad and you hug your dog and you're crying, or your cat, or whatever the animal is, please understand that they are taking that from you, storing it in their DNA, in their cells, and they'll deal with it how their makeup is. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I know they absorb emotion. So that's interesting to think about, the potential of absorbing disease. And being a dog trainer, your dog is very much your mirror. If
Yes,
someone brings me a neurotic dog, which happens often,
yes,
I do a lot more coaching of the human than training the actual dog.
Me. She's
Um,
talking about me.
right, but think about how much grief Digby absorbed from you.
Oh yeah. He absorbed all the grief. Digby was, for those who don't know the story, Digby was a gift from Candy after my husband passed away. And yeah, he absorbed a lot of grief from me.
He came to me as a foster, and at first I thought he was going to be a foster, and then I thought he was going to be a foster fail. Well, he's staying with us. We all love him. And then I saw him crawl on top of Cat, as she sobbed, and I said, "This is why he came to me.
Yep.
He was here to find you." Yeah.
So yeah, that's absolutely the truth where they absorb so much from us.
They do. And so back to the ALS, the documentary that I did, what I found was most heartbreaking observing this family was the what the caregiver was going through, whether you're the wife, the husband, the mother, the father, but the caregiver, all of it is upon them. And it is
Was you?
overwhelming. Yeah, it is overwhelming at best. There are byproducts. I don't even know if that's the proper word, but a byproduct of the caregiver, the energy that they expel. If they don't expel it, then they end up with their own thing to deal with, whether that is alcoholism or addiction to grief or blame. It can come as a side effect of being a caregiver. So with the same thing, if you're a pet owner and you're caregiving for this for your animal 24/7, and you yourself have no relief from it, whether that means another caregiver or doing something to exercise or get all of that energy, and there is energy work that has to be done. Otherwise, you also are going to end up with a side effect being a caregiver.
Well,
And
Wow.
yeah,
I mean, that's pretty heavy, but it makes a lot of sense.
yeah.
And I think that the DM journey, ALS, it's a degenerative neurological condition. So, two of the truths are, one is it's never going to clear up or get better. Now, the other is that it's going to continue to deteriorate. That's the nature of the disease. But as you were talking about that, of course, there was a part of me that jumped right back into that life, right back into us taking the journey. And one of the things about DM that I always talk about is that we had Miriam Valere, who wrote Another New Normal. She's gone through the DM journey several times over,
Yes.
and it's the title of the book is Another New Normal. And me referencing that is talking about going through it. That's exactly what it is. You would think, okay, we have this managed. His pain levels managed, his comfort is managed. I'm managing his temperature since he doesn't regulate. Um, I'm moving him around the way he needs to be moved, and then something would change
Right.
because the trajectory doesn't go straight down or in a predictive line. It kind of levels out and then we'll go down and then level out, go down. And so it's like every time we came to some sort of period of management, it would change again. And
Yes.
it would become the intensity would turn up in certain ways. And I imagine, with the human, there are all these other layers.
Right. And yeah, the caregiver, you as the caregiver, I could see that, with Hammer and with the humans. So um
My
what
whole
was I
life
at?
was taking care
Yeah.
of him.
Yeah, your whole
That
that was
I didn't
everything.
really have spoons left for anything else. And that's for a torrent taking a DM journey.
Yep.
That's par for the course. Yeah.
And
yeah,
so
and there's a level of communication that you can have between human and the animal, because when you were saying that, there's different degrees, or it would get better and then it would take this full left turn, and you're like, oh my God, what happened? The animal is like, they get tired too, just like humans do. And so the best thing that we can do for the animal is to be compassionate and just talk to it like a human. Are you tired? Are you done with your treatment and your care? What can I do for you? Have your paw touch mine if you're tired. Have your paw touch mine if you want to continue the care, because these these dogs and cats are, they're more spiritual than they are on the human level, and they understand, hear, and know exactly what's going on, but we think we're superior in our minds and thoughts. And
We don't at Corgi Town.
no, we don't. Yeah.
okay, so for those that aren't there, because
Yeah.
there's a lot of people that think that they are superior in
Sure,
intelligence, right?
sure.
So for those that don't understand that, please do talk to your companion, your pet, and say, what is it that I can do for you? What do you want? Touch me if you want more care. Touch me if you're tired and you need to move on. So,
That's that's pretty amazing because I know to this day you continue to ask the question, and I every DM parent I think asks the question, and that is, did I make the decision at the right time? More so than any other time we have to make that decision.
I'm gonna become verklempt on that one.
Yep.
That's the part. That loss, Kimber, you were talking about, and I'm very sorry about your pet losses. I mean, each one hits very different.
Yep.
And then the grief healing journey is never an even trajectory. It bounces around, right? But I
right.
notice with each of my pet losses, they're all very unique and different, just like the pet was. And with Hammer, that one, we're about to come up on the 2-year anniversary of me having to send
Yep.
him over the bridge. I still have not moved into the acceptance phase. And
Yeah.
I think it's because we gave him a really wonderful last week. We took him to the dog boutique. We had a pack walk with his friends. We had a party at the pool. We did everything. Cat brought him a burger, fries, and chocolate milkshake from Whataburger. I
Yep.
mean, we gave him everything, and just made sure that his last day was not his worst day. And that's the gift we can give to them. The problem with the DM, and this is kind of, we're going to, and I'm sure we can reference this as we're talking about your documentary, the right to life, right to die. We can give that gift to our animals.
Yeah.
Laws are changing, and I know there's different things there with the humans, but with the animals, we can make that decision for them, and it's a gift. It really is a gift. The thing that I struggle with Hammer is, my first corgi lived a long, beautiful, healthy life. He
Right.
was very healthy until that last day, and he let me know it's time. Okay, thank you. It's the best you can ask for when you have a pet. The worst is that they never live long enough, but that was the best he could have. With Hammer, there was no way for him to let me know. We had good days, bad days. We were managing and a lot. I wanted to make sure he was happy, but it got up to his front legs. When it gets up to his fronts, his lungs are next, and you don't know when that's going to happen. But the suffocation death is a very slow, painful, horrible way to die. So we made the decision in advance, the anticipatory grief. I'll never forget how painful that was. But we had to make the decision in advance so that I could let him go before it got to his lungs and he went the painful way. He looked at me smiling, happy, having a wonderful day, and I had to kill him. And that is always going to stick with me. And I wonder that doesn't keep me stuck. Yeah, it doesn't keep me stuck in that. I have not been able to accept it.
Well, so I would think that if he was smiling, then he was giving you the indicator that you did the right thing, because I've seen so many pet owners wait and
Yep.
wait and wait too long. And I wouldn't use the word kill, but I would rather use the word
Yeah,
to,
it was a very inflammatory word for me to use. I didn't mean it that way, but my brain said that.
yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
because I think because subconsciously,
Yes.
maybe that's what it feels like.
Yes.
Yes.
But when indeed it is just an act of love, it's a gift of kindness, because they are only meant to be here for a very, very short period of time to teach us something, and us to maybe perhaps teach them something too. But for these pet owners that wait and wait to make that decision to put this beautiful spiritual being out of its pain and misery, it's I wish more people would be more empathetic to do it sooner,
Yeah.
because they are here for us. They are giving, I believe, I don't know if this is true or not, but somehow I like to think that every animal has once been a human with an intelligence that's just beyond anything, and given an opportunity to come back and be that mirror for their owner, and to teach them a little something maybe about themselves that they can continue on. But yes, I for you and your experience with Hammer, I just I just feel like I'm gonna start crying, but I just
I know,
feel
I'm,
like
like, trying not to barf. Like, that's me, like,
I just feel like you did the very, very best, and by that act of empathetic compassion on the
Yeah.
way that Hammer left this earth plane,
Yep.
you did everything the right way, and you should just claim that and continue on and get rid of and not pass that emotion on to perhaps Chuckles or anybody else, but
Yeah.
for you to work that out away from your animals that you have now, and you, whether that means a soak in Epsom salts, a soak in the ocean, a meditation to where you just completely transmute that energy into the planet Earth, dig a hole, put that emotion in there, put the dirt back on it, and really, really move on so the rest of these corgis can thrive in their own health. This is just, see, a lot of this stuff comes through me, not from me. So I'm
Sure.
just, I'm just the messenger.
Well, thank you for validating, and that is
Yeah.
a beautiful perspective, and I'm still pretty fresh in grief because Bug.
Yeah.
It's been
It's
a
been
month
months
since
since
Bug.
Bug.
But Bug let me know.
Yeah.
She did pretty much the same thing Lilo did my first corgi in that she presented. I went, all right, we're getting close. Just let me know. And
Yeah.
that last day, she let me know.
Yep.
And I talked to her and I said, I'm gonna mom you and I'm gonna let you go and I'm gonna release you because you are very sick today and you're telling me and we're not gonna stretch this out. And
Mhm.
I said, thank you for letting me know because that's the thing with DM. And I'm sure there's some parallels with ALS. That's the thing with DM. You don't have that. You don't have that.
Yeah.
It's like you said, if you wait too long,
Yeah.
you've done it the painful way.
Yep.
And that's what we were trying to be.
Right. And how do you know if it's too long or if it's soon enough is by asking the animal and saying, Chuckles, do you, or whatever the dog's name is, do you want to continue care? Touch my hand with your paw and let me know. And they will let you know.
That's
I
amazing.
tell you this because I had two sheepdogs. Sheepdogs were my dream breed. Okay.
Yeah.
And
Love
both,
sheepdog.
yes, and both of them developed cancer. The younger one was only 7 years old and
Oh my
developed,
gosh.
oh, yes, and developed bone cancer. And I'm one that prefers the holistic route rather, rather than Western medicine because I think it's a little bit more on their level of care on for them. So
Right.
I chose holistic, but this dog did not want to be here because after the cancer came out of the leg with the holistic method that I chose, it had the cone on its neck. And in the middle of the night, the dog just wanted to clean that cancer out himself and or herself and got the cone off. How it did that, I have no idea, and was literally eating its own leg. It was
Oh,
done with whatever, and that was 17 years ago. And to just, I'm sharing this part with you because we just are remodeling certain parts of the house, and I found the dog's paw print, Sierra's paw print from when she passed, and I just started bawling, and I could cry right now as if it happened
right.
yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's never going to be 100% healing after the passing of these beings because they are so spiritual, because they are so superior, and
And they
because
take part of you with them every
Yes.
time.
they do, they do each
And I
and
don't know that I would have it any other way.
Yeah. No,
As painful as that is,
I wouldn't have it any
that's
other
the
way.
bond, right?
Yep.
right.
That's the beauty.
That is the bond, and they're mirroring to us that we are those spiritual beings also in the human form, but we
Yep.
don't see that. And they keep trying to tell us, and we're like, no,
Yeah. You're absolutely
No
right.
egos.
No egos.
We just did
right?
it. We just did an episode with a soul contract practitioner, good
Yeah.
friends of ours, and she was like, "Look, my specialty is not humans, or my specialty is not animals; it's humans." But that was one of the things that has stuck with me that she said. She said the difference between the animal energy is there's no ego tripping them up like with
right?
the humans.
Just like us.
Yeah.
I getting back to the
Documentary.
documentary, and and I want to make sure that we get the name out and for people to see it and understand. We, as the pet parents, make decisions, and as you said, we, and you did that with Booger, asking, um, is it time? Is it not time?
I told her, "Let me know.
Yeah,
Girl, you need to let me know."
yeah,
And she did.
and we can and we can't do that with humans. The hospice nurse, who's a personal friend that took care of my husband, at the end when he was in a coma, uh, about 6 months later, maybe less, I had asked her, I said, basically, we were doing the beautiful thing that we can do with our pets by upping that dose of morphine, and she looked at me, and I said, "Just tell me." And she said, "Yes, that's pretty much what we're doing."
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so how is it now similar at the end, um, and how is it different, ALS and a human versus DM, our fur
When you
babies,
talk about end of life,
end of life?
Yes, and that's such a thank you for asking that question because it is so important. And because we are human and we have ego, we don't want to let that person go. With ALS, it is literally they are 100% okay inside their mind, inside their own bodies. But what the disease shows on the exterior, there's no hand movement. They can't feed themselves. They can't talk. They're literally prisoners in their own body. And it is
Mm,
extremely difficult to watch and witness. And so with ALS, with cancer, with any human being who is at the end of life, they're hanging on and they will hang on for many months or even up to years because the person that is caring for them or the husband or the wife or the children, they can't let go.
yeah,
And so the most compassionate, empathetic thing that we can do is we can give them permission. It is okay to go on to the next part of your life because the, I love you that much. And you have to give them permission. Otherwise, they will stick around. The,
yeah,
the, the documentary was called Together with ALS, A Wife's Perspective, and Liana Hubbard, she's the executive producer and wife of David Dornell, who passed with ALS. And we had this conversation. I was at his house in the last few days of his life, and you do have to say it is okay. You hold
yeah,
their hand. You must go. It's please, and that's compassion.
yeah,
And no, we cannot put a human being down like we do our beloved pets, but we can give that human being the permission to cross over to the other side because
yep,
there's something so much greater waiting. But if they don't hear that from you, they're going to hang on and suffer, and it's
yeah,
horrible. And
yeah.
it's a very selfish thing to do to not give them permission.
I know when, my mom passed, and, I was here with her, my late husband, and the rest of my siblings were back in New York, and, the hospice nurse said, and I had 3 telephones, 2 cell phones and my sister's house phone because we were at her house, and the hospice nurse said, "She hears the voice of any of her children. Mothers do not leave when their children are in the room." And I heard the story over and
I've
over
heard that
again.
too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I've seen that, and I've heard that over and over again. Um, my niece's mother-in-law was so upset with herself that she walked out of her mother's room, and that's when her mother chose to leave, and
Mhm.
I reiterated that the hospice nurse had told me, "Listen, this is what happened, that, she's just waiting for you to leave. They don't want their children to see this." And, and I thought for myself, I had to leave the room, and my siblings had to say goodbye, and it was then a couple of hours later that my mom passed very, very peacefully.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, the oh, man. I mean, the DM journey, I know how hard that is, I can speak to that. The ALS journey, oof, oof. I would like to think that anyone, you mentioned, Kimber, a lot of spirituality, but I would like to think that there is a beautiful, beautiful plane, with a lot of beautiful love that we, of course, we all get to see one day, but
Yes,
especially the caregivers of someone with a condition like this, because that's hell on earth,
it
watching
is.
your loved one do that. My grandfather had neighbors, a married couple of married gentlemen that he helped take care of, not as a caregiver sense, but just to be a supportive friend. And he would come over and kind of help feed and take care of the one husband. And then the husband passed from ALS. They both got the same disease.
Oh my gosh.
And
Yeah.
then when the other one, started to succumb, he really liked books, and his eyes were not functioning anymore. He couldn't hold his eyes still enough to read, so my grandpa would go over and read to him, and just, "What do you wanna read today?" And, him just telling me about caring for both of those, and I'm like, "Oh my goodness." I mean, it's so heavy. But as we're talking about that, I wanna ask, we're talking about the documentary. How do you think, storytelling this way? I mean, very powerful,
Yeah,
and I would like to, be sure that we get plenty of the information and, circulate your documentary throughout our DM, group, because I think that could be healing for them to know, because the ALS and
absolutely.
DM community,
Right.
right? But how do you feel like the storytelling, um, you know, like how it's gonna help, how it's, you know
Right. Well, in the documentary, we show David was very, very open with when we shot the documentary, he was still able to talk. So it was really wonderful. He had so many messages. The storytelling is just that. It's a visual. I don't want to use the word exploitation, but it's a visual
medium?
avenue. Thank you. A visual medium for people to understand that all disease is progressive, right? So David was still he was in the beginning stages of it. He wanted to show people what it looked like, what
Yeah.
his journey was, and it wasn't glorified. There wasn't a lot of money in this family. Everybody was struggling. So to be able to take the camera, go into their home, have David talk, have each family member be able to share what they're going through, because David wasn't the only one suffering. Each and every person connected to David was going through their own aspect of the disease and the throes of it. So we
As a
told
witness to it, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. So we told the story through each individual that was most important in David's life. And for me, I still have a lot of that inside of my head, because as the director, you want to be able to make sure that you're giving the disease the right amount of, I'm sorry, you want to make sure you're giving the audience enough of the education about the disease so
Yeah.
that if they ever overcome, or if it ever comes into their lives, they'll know how it's going to affect not only them but every family member. But if I could digress for just a minute, before it even gets to that, we just need to be cognizant that our thoughts create our health outcome,
Yep.
because we have trillions and trillions of cells inside of our body. They love to be commanded. If you don't command them what you want them to do, they're going to do what your subconscious mind tells them, which is the fear, the grief, the disdain, the anger, all those lower vibrational feelings. It's okay to have them, but don't have them very long, because then the cells take that and they start creating this upset inside the body, which turns into disease. Now, with ALS, I would think, and I'm not a professional, but I would just think that if you have enough horrible thoughts, and if you're a prisoner with because that's what ALS is, being prisoner inside your own body, because inside of you, you're healthy and you're cognizant and aware, but nothing on the outside of you is working. You can't
Mm.
lift your arm. You can't use the bathroom. I mean, that to me would be absolutely horrific. So I would think to take the best care of your thoughts, because thoughts are things we think it, we speak it, and then it's created.
And I
And
want to say for the skeptic, right? Because what you're talking about is a very esoteric concept um, that not everyone's going to absorb and accept. But I would say for the skeptic, what have you got to lose, right?
right,
I
well,
mean, does realism really get us anywhere? I mean, let me live in my own
yeah,
happy little head, right?
well, sure, there's always going to be a naysayer out there, and the naysayer is going to end up with, I mean, I don't know how that outcome is going to be for them, but if y- I think as the world is changing right now, because we can all agree it's changing very rapidly,
Age of
do
Aquarius, welcome.
yes,
Yeah.
do experiment. Do the
Yeah.
You don't have to believe me. It doesn't change my life if you don't believe me, but perhaps if you experiment, you could change your own life.
Yeah,
And no
absolutely.
harm, no foul, right? So,
Exactly.
Yeah, I like Abraham Hicks, and that's very woo-woo, but the thing I like about the message is even if you don't truly believe that you're creating your own reality with your thoughts, even if you don't truly believe that, because there's that ego, right? We're under a construct. The construct says no practicality. Even if you don't believe that, what have you got to lose by feeling good? It's like
exactly.
the graph of, if you worried about something and something bad happened, you suffered twice. If
Yeah.
you don't worry about something and something bad happened, you only had to suffer once.
It's
If you
true.
don't worry and nothing bad happens, you're golden.
You're good.
So it's like, what have you got to lose by, keeping your head in that space?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
And
I also believe that the message will find the right people too. I'm not I don't concern myself with people who aren't going to hear it or aren't going to learn from it, because that has nothing to do with me. But perhaps all of these shows, these messages, these podcasts, they will find the right people. That is the intention behind it, is to find the right people that will learn from it.
as a filmmaker, I love that you said that, because as producers of this podcast, I hear you say, I'm not going to concern myself with those who don't hear it. I concern myself a lot with those who don't hear it. I'm not sure how to break out of that. So maybe you can give some good advice for being award winning. Because the reason why I concern with that is we have very important messages that it's all about the life and health of the dog and the
Yeah.
parent of the dog. And we want more people to hear what we have to say because of that message. And I've felt like it's a continuous struggle of getting that message out in a larger blanket. And I do a lot of how can we deliver this so that it is palatable and digestible enough to where people will absorb it versus reject it.
Right. So it begins with the message is authentic, which you already have. You have a very authentic message. When you are authentic with your film, your podcast, whatever, then you set the intention behind it. What is the intention? The intention is that it's going to reach the right people. You
Yeah.
don't you don't ever give any thought to anything other than that. I also pray over my work, because that way it's coming through me, not from me, which is the ego. Okay. So allow it to come through you, and then claim the award winning. I claim it. I go, this is going to be award winning. And every bit of work that I do is award winning, whether it's a book, a film, a podcast or whatever, because I pray before, it's authentic messaging, and I claim the outcome.
Yeah.
So I'm giving you a winning formula. It
Perfect. Thank you.
works.
Thank you.
And then you turn your messaging off for anybody else that is the non-believer, the non-care, whatever. They're behind you anyway. There's a reason you're passing them up and in front of them, because they're behind you. Well, the message will probably smack you in the face someday, and maybe someday you'll hear it, but that's not my concern, because there's all these people in the audience that do want to hear it, and that's who I'm making the work for.
Yep. Well, thank you for that advice. And that's perseverance. I was just telling Kat, I'm a massive, massive Stranger Things fan. It is not obvious in the studio. But I was just telling her that the Duffer Brothers got rejected 8 times from all these studios for their concept of Stranger Things. And then here we are, 5 seasons and $80 billion later. Can you imagine those studios kicking themselves? But that's that perseverance, right?
Yeah.
These 2
Yes.
know that they had something that they believed in, and it landed in the right place. So to hear someone with your credibility, um, I appreciate it so much.
Yeah, and the word believe, so it's ask, believe, and receive. A lot of people ask, everybody asks. Hardly anybody believes, which is why nobody receives. So it's that
Exactly.
middle part, it's the triangle. It's ask, believe is the top of the triangle, right? So that means believe in you, because if I didn't believe in my own work, why would it be award winning then? No, but I don't see it. So why is anybody else going to see it? So
Yep.
I only visualize and see a perfect outcome. Now I want to tell you, some film festivals, you could submit your podcasts to film festivals to get more recognition, and we'll talk about that after this podcast. There are going to be those non-believers that don't like your work. Well, so what? There's
Yeah.
50 million over here that do, and that's the crowd I want to attract. Just like you
Exactly.
said, with 80 million, whatever the
Oh, with the
person's.
Duffer Brothers. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like they knew they had an audience somewhere. Don't pay attention to the audience that doesn't want you. Just keep moving forward. And then the best, not revenge, but the best way to show those types of people is your success. Show
Exactly.
them that you are successful and you have something. And you ladies definitely have something, because it's unique and it's an authentic message. And there's a lot of people that need to hear what you're saying.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
appreciate that.
And it is important to us to be able to give some comfort, and to all of the people that we know that from the animal perspective, have been the caregivers. And you know what? Perhaps somebody who doesn't even have a pet hears this, and from the human perspective, being a caregiver for another human, understands the role of the caregiver. Um, I'm going to actually become the interviewer, and I just want to turn to Candy for a second
Oh,
and
flipping
talk
the
about. I
script.
know, right? And I want to talk a little bit about, or I'd like you to talk a little bit about, um, the research in DM and the benefits. If it's one of those diseases where I don't know what we're seeing in benefit yet. But if you can talk a little bit about the research
Mm.
that goes on.
Yeah. I don't know enough about it. I just know that we have been informed. There are other groups for degenerative myelopathy with Bubba's buddies. Their parents were part of a university that was doing some research. And so some of the research through degenerative myelopathy is helping with human ALS research. That's kind of the extent of my knowledge. I don't have I would love to throw out some platitudes or some clinical setting. I don't have enough of it without saying something that I'm afraid might be wrong. I'd have to have it in front of me, but I know that there's research that is benefiting. Um, if it's something we could eradicate or alleviate. I mean, of course, with our mission. So we were talking about storytelling, Kimber, and how powerful that is to help shade out DM. That's what we do, is storytelling. We have a race every year, and it's a virtual race, so anybody can join. Corgi Town USA has our own team in memory of Hammer. It's Hammer's team, and that's that. We're perpetuating that their loss was not in vain.
Yep.
That we fight for all of the parents currently going through it, everyone taking the journey, all the pups taking the journey, but then also preventing, because it is preventable, by testing before breeding. Humans, that's a whole other,
Yeah, no, we don't
discussion.
wanna do that.
No, it's a whole other discussion. But with dogs, we know that we can 100% prevent it by testing before breeding. So that's one of the things that we're very emphatic about, that the breeders need to be testing and should not be breeding carriers. We have a whole chart of how that works. And so that's the storytelling we do with Shade Off DM.
I'll ask you, having done this documentary and, having shown this documentary, what have you seen in terms of people's perspective, as we're trying to change people's perspective on DM and breeding? What have you seen, as
Have you
a
experienced
or
change in
yeah,
perspective?
have you experienced change in perspective of people from the
Who have
point
consumed your content?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what I've seen happen is, like what happened to me being the director, is the awareness
Mm,
of what a caregiver goes through, because you can hear it all day long, but until you're actually experiencing it from the silver screen and consuming all of that education. Oh, I'm getting goosebumps right now, which is
yeah.
validation. It is really eye opening. I'm choking back tears right now because it's very, very emotional. It doesn't matter if you see suffering in a human or an animal, but it's the level of education and perspective goes on ALS. I just know I never want to experience that.
Mm,
My heart goes out to whomever is, and the message that I would say to the caregiver, to the person that has it, is that love and compassion are the almighty healer. So to surround either the animal with DM or the human being with ALS, surround them with love. Play loving music, bless the food before you feed them. Just uh, sit and hold hands and transfer your love from your body to theirs. And then the family members can do that, and the community can come together and do that. And
It's beautiful. And I
yeah.
love that's the power of film. I'm a huge film person. And I love that the power of filmmaking, as you were saying, I think perspective is everything. And as much as we can talk about it, film,
Yeah.
screenplays, it brings you to the experience
Yeah.
so
right.
that you feel it. You're not just reading about it or hearing someone talk. You are sitting there with the emotion.
Absolutely.
Right, and that's why I like to make films that people feel, not seeing it. You can see any film, you can see any documentary, but if you're feeling it, that's what I like to make my claim for when I do documentaries. I want the people to feel the subject matter, because that is what's going to give it perspective. That is what's going to change the dynamics of what everyone's going through. So perhaps maybe you guys need to do a documentary on the animals with DM, because I know nothing about it. This was all new to me. When you approached me about this podcast, I was like, I had no idea. So I think that it is something that needs to be taught and educate other people. What is the research about it? How does the animal get well? I think I know from my woo woo perspective of how an animal would get this disease, but it's all about education. And
Yeah.
I have a very special place in my heart for the animal kingdom. I always have, and we are their voice. And I can see Chuckles laying there. He's going, "Yep, this lady. I'm so glad she came around because we need to talk about this." Because he's very relaxed and he hears, he knows.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's my service dog, so he's very, very connected to me, and he also carries the torch of my first Corgi, which was a heart dog, and, I got him before I lost my other one when he was aging because I wanted him to learn from the best dog in the world, but then also not feel like I was trying to replace him,
Yep.
and so
Yes.
he has carried that torch so well. We are very, very connected.
Yeah, and these animals, it's the closest to unconditional love, as you know, that you'll ever experience. They already know what their role is before they even meet us. They come here specifically to fulfill a role for their owner, and they do it so beautifully. And the best gift that we can give each of these animals is our unconditional love. And if they're suffering, recognize it and help them early on because they're they're here for a very short time, and that time needs to be very specific.
Intentional. Yeah,
Thank you.
intentional. Yeah, we do a lot of that here at Corgi Town, USA. My whole life is all around their enrichment, engagement, and happy lives. But thank you. We're gonna let you enjoy the rest of your evening. We've had you for a very long time, but we appreciate your message so much. I will drop some links down into the description box of this episode so that they can connect with you, so their audience connect with you. Where can we find your documentary? What would you like the audience to know to follow up with you or to stay connected to your work?
The documentary, she actually has a website. Liana created a website where the film is placed on there, and I shut my phone off. And if I try to get it off the computer, so what I'm going to do is I will send it to you, the link
Okay,
for
perfect.
that. For
We'll
that,
have it in the description box of both the YouTube channel as well as the audio so you can click, so you can follow. I feel like, especially our DM community, it's going to be something they'll want to watch. And I think it'll be very helpful and very healing to others to know that they're
Yes.
not alone. Kimber, thank you so much. We appreciate you.
Yeah.
I,
Thank you.
I appreciate you ladies too. Thank you. I feel so honored to share these moments with you. And Chuckles, Chuckles,
Jackie,
Chuckles, Chuckles, I
He
love you.
he loves
I
you
love
too.
you, Chuckles. He's adorable. I love his name.
Yeah,
He's a cool dude.
he is. He's a good boy.
He
Well,
is.
thank you so much. And as far as if anybody wants to reach out to me, my email is kimberaleigh@mac.com. I am on Facebook under Kimber A. Leigh, Leigh, Instagram, Kimber A. Leigh, Leigh. So,
Perfect.
yes, I would love to hear from you and connect.
Thank you. We'll drop
Thank
those
you.
down. Have a wonderful evening. Thank you so much for sharing your art with us.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Well, if you enjoyed this episode, please like and subscribe. We're here for you every week, all things corgi and pet parent lifestyle. Not every episode is this heavy, but every season we have to do something about degenerative myelopathy or at least DM adjacent. This was a great, wonderful perspective. Thank you for finding Kimber as our honored guest today, Kat. And Chuckles and Candy are going to sign off. He's giving me the eyes that it is time for dinner, and we can't miss that.
No, we can't. And this is Catherine. Thank you so much, Kimber. And thank you to our dear listener, dear viewer, for sticking with us.
Absolutely. We'll see you next week.
See you next week. Bye.